Kayla will join us. I think I gave her enough time to be here. Good morning. As you know, my name is Matlodi Maseko, and I'm a standing committee chair for infrastructure. And for a change today, I'm not going to start with the members. It's a safe way to do it. I'm going to start with the officials to introduce themselves so that by the time I get to the members, we'll have a quorum. So I do have the apologies from Minister Seamus and Member De Villiers said he's going to join us online. But because
I am online, Chair.
Okay.
I am online, thank you.
Thank you very much. That is why I want the members in the chambers, because they just don't jump in when I am talking to them. So we acknowledge your presence, but you are not going to interact with us because the meeting is recorded as in person. We don't mind you listening to us and collecting information for your constituency and for the standing committee, but you are not going to be participating in the meeting unless if you were here. And I recognize your apology for not being able to attend in person. Without wasting any time, I'm going to request, starting with you, HOD, to introduce yourselves so you can know each other.
Chair, thank you very much, and good morning to you and the member in the chamber and those that may arrive. Jackie Gooch, HOD, Department of Infrastructure.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone. DDG Gavin Code, Acting Head of Strategy Planning and Coordination Branch.
Good morning, Chairperson and everyone else. My name is Nes Chabalala. I'm the Acting Executive Corporate Services at NHBRC. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning to members present here and HOD and everybody else in the chambers. My name is Stefan Janse. I represent NHBRC as the Provincial Manager for the Western Cape.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rihanna Tyree, and I'm the Regional Director responsible for implementation of projects in the West Coast region. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everybody. My name is Marlon Sabotka. I'm from the Department of Infrastructure, Deputy Director, Capacity Building and Economic Empowerment. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Pat Chenika. I'm the Director for what's called Construction, Industry, Innovation and Empowerment. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Fesa Kahai. I'm the Director for Professional Development from Department of Infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Mari, welcome.
Chair, my sincere apologies for running late this morning. My name is Kayla Murray and I'm a member of this committee. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Chair, HOD, and everybody present, and our guests as well. My name is Mbulelo Isaac Silegu. I am a member of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Member De Villiers already has introduced himself. I didn't receive any apology from Member Maran, who is a permanent member in the standing committee. I hope that he is maybe running late. If not, that will be the case, that he is not in the meeting. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to request that we start with the presentation, but again, I need to indicate the engagement today is the same rules that applies in the standing committee. And for the virtual, because we recorded this message on the program as the in-person meeting. So there's no any other person online that will be given a chance to interact with the proceedings for today. So with that being said, over to you, HOD. We'll start with the department. Okay. Start with the department, Masaki Sizwe, and then from there it will be the NHBRC members, and then we'll do the questions after we've listened to both presentations.
Chair, thank you very much. Before we begin, because I am going to request the team to go through the presentation and take you through, as was requested, the Masaki Sizwe bursary program and the broader training programs of the department. So they'll do the presentation. Just some opening comments, if I may. And I want to say that certainly the department is incredibly proud, I think, of the programs that it offers and runs through, particularly the team under the leadership of Ms. Gai for the Masaki Sizwe bursary program and the professional development program is something that the Western Cape government can be, I think, incredibly proud of, and is, notwithstanding approaches taken from a national level and others, it is a program that we've been running since 2006 and added to, adjusted over time, which has had incredible results, which speak to an approach for our department of trying to build a pipeline of young professionals that can be brought into the department and trained up and supported and mentored so that eventually they can take up senior positions over time with experience into the organization. And particularly when we think about, and you'll see in the presentation, the aspect of the built sector and the scarce skills that do exist and what our country requires. It is something that we've advocated, and I've advocated certainly at a national level with National Public Works and Infrastructure, as to be the type of program that certainly seems to have achieved results and shows that South Africa, and certainly the Western Cape, is able to grow our own timber. And we don't necessarily have to go knocking on the doors of other countries in order to bring in professionals to do the work. We have got the capability and the expertise. We just need to nurture it and grow it within South Africa and certainly within our province. But with that being said, I think the first part of the presentation will be done by Ms. Gai, and then Ms. Jenica will take us through the next part. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As the HOD indicated, my name is Veseka Gai. I'm responsible for the Masaki Sizwe bursary program. Our first slide is about the content. What are we going to present? These are the training interventions that are being provided by Department of Infrastructure. Okay. These are the, I think my voice must be a bit louder. These are the training interventions that are being provided by the Department of Infrastructure. We have Masaki Sizwe bursary program, which entails of learners or students from universities, which means universities is CPUT, UCT, and Stellenbosch. I will explain later why. We have skills development programs, which skills development programs for people who have grade 10. We have road artisan. It's also accommodating that group. We also have human settlement skills program, whereby we are covering functional areas pertaining to human settlement. And we have contract development to try and help our SMEs. And these presentations that we'll be presenting today are going to cover all these areas. Okay, as I've indicated, I will start with Masaki Sizwe bursary program. Okay, it was started in 2006, and in 2010, it was expanded to include professional development. The purpose is to address skill shortage in transport, build, and engineering skills. I will explain why. However, if there's any other disciplines that are identified as critical and scarce by the department and they are required, then we accommodated that. Especially there's these new emerging disciplines that are coming up, and we are trying to accommodate that as well. What is it that we are doing? We are offering, as I've indicated, we are offering bursaries, UCT, Stellenbosch, and CPUT. The reason we don't have UWC is because it doesn't offer technical fields. That is the reason we don't have it. And the preference is given to one of the key things that we want to do as this program is to address skill shortage, is to assist in terms of transformation, is also to empower youth in relation to assess higher education. And the fourth one is to make sure that they are employable. Those are the key things that we needed to do. In order to make sure that we assist in relation to transformation, these are the preference group that, these are the people who are given preference. Financial disadvantaged groups. In anyone, any race, as long as you are financially disadvantaged, we accommodate you. Females are given preference. People with disability are given preference. Residents, in this case is youth, who are coming from Western Cape, they are given preference. And also youth that reside outside the metropole, they are also given preference. With professional development is about assisting. Once you have completed your technical field at university, you are not yet an engineer. You need to go through a training program so that you are an engineer. Then there is a program that is called professional development, and we assist them. It depends on the discipline. Minimum is 2 years for architects because they needed to have masters. For civil engineering, they needed to go through a program for 5 years. And the key in terms of that is that there's a candidate training program, which is for graduates who are coming from university, assisting them to get professional registration. Matured candidate are the ones who are in the department prior to 2006 when the OSD wasn't implemented. There was no need for technical staff to be professionally registered. And with OSD, it is an inherent requirement of a post that they must be professionally registered. And with a mature candidate, then what we do, we identify within the department who are technical officials and are they registered? If they are not, then they're being assisted to get professionally registered, because in order for them to get promotion, they need to meet the inherent requirements. And then continuing professional development is about making sure that our engineers are abreast with developments that are taking place in their fields. The key things to make sure that we're able to deliver in relation to what we are doing, we have partnership with private sector. With partnership with private sector, there's 2 elements around it. One, private sector must assist in terms of reducing unemployment amongst youth, which means then they need to employ the people. The second one, in some instances, they pay 50% of the bursary, because what we are trying to do, the issue of skill shortage is in order for the country to be able to overcome it, there should be a collective responsibility. That means it should be private sector as well as government. And if we work together, one, it maximizes the productivity in relation to reaching the targets that we want. Then the other people that we have is we engage key stakeholders. The key stakeholders here is WCET, which is Department of Education, NGOs and NPOs. The reason the NGOs and NPOs are very critical in terms of being our stakeholders is that these NGOs that we interact with them are the ones that offer medicine, physical science, extra classes for the people on Saturdays. And they help in terms of making sure that we're able to, our kids are able to meet the requirements of the universities. The third one, what we do, we make sure that we do an awareness, communication and marketing. What we are trying to do, most of the time, technical fields are not one of the things that people want to study. They prefer to do computer science, medical fields. And now we are trying to create awareness and raise the profile of it and try make them to be interested in this. Once we have awarded you a bursary, these are the key things that we do. We have what is called buddy system. The buddy system is about helping, if you're a first year, we are helping you to adjust at university. Because, once you start a university, name, you adjust to this person. And most of the time, especially if you're coming out of Cape Town, out of Metropole, you are lost. Then there's a buddy system that we attach for you. And that person is going to be with you for 6 months. It's going to help you to tell you where is the library, where to get what. And even if you are stressed, you have someone to take your hand. Then we have what is called academic support. With our program, one of the nice things is because we wanted to empower youth, we don't have academic performance as a criteria, because reason being is one, is to make sure that there isn't a barrier from our side. Secondly, universities already, they have their own system to assess who must be accepted, who must not. We cannot do duplication. And who are we? If a university is saying you are accepted, who are we to say you don't have what it takes to be accepted? Hence, we make sure that we only give bursaries, and if you're accepted at university and then with us, we are fine with that. But the key is we do know we are taking a risk. Then we have what is called academic support. If you are getting 59% and below, we identify you as a risk student, and then we attach a tutor, and that tutor is going to help you with whatever field that you're struggling with, and that helps. Then we have what is called employability skills. As I've said earlier on that we have partnership with private sector. What we do, and we also engage universities. We discuss, when we have this partnership, we discuss what are the requirements, what is it that the labor market requires in order to employ the people. And then one of the things that was highlighted is that they need to have a driver's license, because if you're an engineer, if you're a candidate, once you start, you will be expected at some stage to go to a site. You need to be able to go to a site. And we have what is called employability skills, where we help them with their CVs to make sure that their CVs are able to market them, as well as we also assist them while they are students. By the time they are doing their last year, they have driver's license so that they will be employable. We are trying to give them edge in the labor market in relation to other graduates. Then we have what is called outreach program. With outreach program, as I've said, one of the key principles of this program is that collectivity. Collectivity means everybody has a part to play. Besides the department, as well as the private sector, the beneficiaries also have a responsibility. We are trying to instill social responsibility. They need to know where they are, they have a responsibility. There's a lot of things that they do. On Mandela Day, they play a part. This year, they went into a school which was for people with disabilities, and they painted it a school, and like, there's always something that they make. Secondly, one of the things that they do, if we have buses that are struggling, they're also one of the tutors to help. Like, we are teaching them to give back. Whatever that you have, if you're a strong student, give back academically. If you are not that strong, help with physical element, like painting, whatever that we'll be doing. But we identify schools in terms of that to try and help schools in relation to that. They do that during June month, they do something. And in July, they also do something. And it's and funny enough, they participate. Most of the time, we have more people who wants to participate than the people who doesn't. In any case, we don't have, because it's one of the requirements. But most of the time, it's us who decide, okay, we're only going to accommodate 20 because that place can only accommodate a specific number. We have most of them, they know that they need to do that. And it rotates because all of them want that social responsibility to be instilled on them. Employment, the last one is securing employment placement. With employment placement, we have a responsibility of making sure that the private sector, government, as well as local government, they do employ these people. We negotiate with the employers. Then coaching and mentoring. Once they are candidates, there is a structured coaching and mentoring to assist them to be professionally registered. In order for them to attain professional registration, there's a lot of elements that they need to be exposed in relation to their fields. In order for us to make sure that they get exposure and they get the competence level that is required, what we do, we second and rotate them within the department, local authorities, and the private sector. Okay. This, as I've said, there was an element of the bursary and there's a professional development. With professional development, these are the bodies that governs professional development. We have a body that governs quantity surveying, architects, engineering, all as you see in the list. These are being managed by CPE, and we have partnership with CPE. That is where they require, in order for them to attain the professional registration, that is what they need. They require a mentor to help them to attain. In terms of the stats, this is a CPE. Remember the one that is in charge. This is 21-22. They don't have yet the new one. And this is how the stats looks. This is how the stats looks, okay? If you look at it, I'm just going to take one discipline. Is Excel. Remember we said what we want to address skill shortage. One of the things that we said we wanted to do is also to address the issue of transformation. If you look at the EXA, the males and females, look at the gap. The males are 28,000, while the females are around 2,500. And we are not talking about in Western Cape, we are saying in the country. In the country, this is the total number of females that we have. Hence, in our bursary program, the preference is being given to females. Then if you go further and you look in terms of the race, we have 7,000 and some odds Africans, we have 1,000 and odds, almost 2,000 Indians. With colors, that is the number we have 709, which is the lowest. And remember, this is not in Western Cape, in the country. These are the professionals that we have. And then we have whites 20. However, there's things that I need to indicate in relation to this. This states there's a consent that number one, the issue of transformation is clear. We need to try to assist in relation to that. The issue of gender representation, we need to make sure that we address that. If you look at the number, maybe you see we have lots of white, and you will think at least we have professionals. We must remember there's a possibility, majority of them are approaching retirement. There's a possibility they are not even in the country. Remember what people they do, and which is for me, I like it, because I'm so interested in this field, is that what is happening with other countries like Ireland. If you did get professional registration in South Africa, and then you look for a job in Ireland, once you get employment on that side, they recognize our professional registration, which then it makes it easy for them, for people to go to Ireland. But there's two things that it says. It says that the quality of our engineers is up to stretch for the fact that it doesn't get to be questioned. They don't need to go through a specific training in order for them. That is why then we mustn't be happy thinking that we have a lot. We don't have, if you take into consideration the age as well as where they are. And we have requested CPE to start telling us exactly where are these people so that we're in a position. They said they are going to try and incorporate that in their annual report. I've just used one element. But in terms of us, which I needed to post, is that if you look at this male and female, we have 8%. I'm talking about EXA. It's almost 8%, the percentage of the females. However, with our candidates are the people who are already in the department, who are trying to get professional registration, is that we have 30% of females, which means we are really trying to make sure that we are achieving that. Okay. The next one, what is exactly the issue? What is really causing the skill shortage? What is causing the issue is that, number one, there's no accountability in terms of who's supposed to address skill shortage. Like if there's a skill shortage, there is a skill shortage, but there is nobody who's accountable. Secondly, there is confusion in terms of roles and responsibility. I'm going to explain why am I saying that. There's a supply and there's a demand. There's issue of parents. Parents, they are not aware that there is supply. There's some basics that we want from the parents, the values. Teach your kids honesty, teach your kids respect, teach your kids diligence, because later that is what they are going to use in order to sustain their professional development. The second part is primary education. Primary education, they don't understand the importance of a good foundation in maths and physics. Like they don't know that what they get out is going to have an effect in terms of the supply. Secondary education, as now we have schools that don't offer maths and physics, and the some that offer maths and physics are all, they don't have much resources, and that is also a gap. Now, what is employers? Employers, they are of the opinion, but not our partner companies. Remember, I did say we have our partner companies which now are assisting. Employers in general, they think that their responsibility is to get at the end of the day. That means they are the employers, they are the demand. And then everybody is complaining, universities, higher education institutions are not giving us what they want. But if the other levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, didn't play any party, higher education is not going to be in a position. And unfortunately, with technical field, there's a competition if it's maths and physics. There is medical fields, there's computer sciences, and there's that competition. It is important that all these parties, they know that they have a role to play, and we are trying to get to that. Then, with education, the first one it was around the supply. The only people who are held accountable in terms of the supply is higher education, while everybody has a party to play. The second party, there's this issue of there's a disjunction within the workplace now. We have an aging workforce while we have high unemployment amongst youth. And then you ask yourself, but how is that possible? We have high vacancy rate while we have rigid recruitment selection processes. We have shortage of registered professionals while we have either limited training for graduates. We have inexperienced young professionals. There's no structured coaching and mentoring to assist. We have a situation where there's low transformation in relation to these disciplines, as you have seen. And yet we have limited training development programs to try and get the youth to be able to be professionally registered. The quality of education at primary and secondary doesn't really help them when it comes to academic demands of university. However, one thing I'm clear of, academic demands at university level, they mustn't be compromised, because at the end of the day, that is the end product of what we produce. And the fact that people, they recognize us, I like it. We need to just improve the other part, which means those for the other group that have said they are not playing their part in terms of knowing that they are the supply they need to play. Our secondary and primary needs to help. But what we are doing from our side, because we are concerned about this, and we also know that one of the things that we want to do is transformation. What we have done, we have identified the bursaries that are offered at secondary schools. We have also identified the scholarships that are being offered by schools. Now, whenever we are advertising our program, we say, if your child, when we're at schools, if there are good kids that are good in maths, these are the bursaries that they are not our bursaries, but we are marketing them to make sure that people, there's a room for them to improve their maths. What is it with this skill shortage? There's two elements. There's a negative element and there's a positive element. The negative element is skill shortage is being created. Whether we, like, it's not tsunami, it doesn't come, like, it's not a natural cause. We are creating it by not being intentional. If we wanted to address skill shortage, we need to be intentional. And when it's being created, there are two elements. It's either it's being created intentionally or unintentionally, but it's created. But what is nice about that is that we are in a position to address it. Because it's being created, we are in a position. It's not tsunami. The solutions that we are recommending is that there should be an improvement in terms of maths and science at primary and secondary schools. Hence, from our side, what we are doing, we are promoting that they must just apply with these bursaries that are being offered. If the school doesn't have resources, the teacher knows that this child is such a good child, then they must just apply in case they can get something. Secondly, there should be partnership. There should be a collective responsibility. Everybody has a part to play in terms of addressing skill shortage. Then there should be budgeting resources. Fortunately, our department was nice. It did give us the budget and we have the resources because, yeah. Then there should be accountability. Everybody must be accountable. Like at some stage, the parents must stop blaming the school, the secondary or the primary education. They must know that, the teachers are teaching kids that are so unruly. Like there are things that parents need to do to make life easy for everybody. Now, this is what is happening in terms of our breakdown. As I've said, one of the things that we also want, we don't want our university to have a situation whereby there's instability, they are doing there's that. What then we are trying to do, we try to make sure that when we distribute the funding, the universities that are offering what we want, we make sure all of them, they get something. In terms of university, in terms of the bursary, these are the percentages that they are getting. University of Stellenbosch is getting 30%, UCT is getting 31%, and CPUT is getting 39%. Then in terms of race, as we have said, we are trying to address the issue of transformation. Africans is 57%, Coloreds is 29%, Indians is 2%, and then whites is 12%. Then in terms of females, as much as people saying it's difficult to get people to study these disciplines, with us we are trying so hard because we are giving that preference. Females who have 47% and males who have 53%. Disability, most of the time people, they always make an excuse. People with disabilities are not interested in technical fields. We have managed to get 3% in terms of people with disabilities that are in the program. And in total, that's the number that we have. Then at the end, what is it that we want to achieve? We want to make sure that there's an empowerment of youth through tertiary education. We have reduced unemployment amongst youth. We address skill shortage and we establish partnership to facilitate collective. And then we have also indicated the intervention that we bring as well as the impact. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I will go, thank you. I will go briefly through the skills programs that is run by the department. Starting off with our learnership programs, we ran what is called the National Youth Service program. It's under the expanded public works program that we run this. It's run in every province, and within our province, we fund it through our department 100%. So what happens on the learnership is we get young people in to assist them with gaining an occupational trade or skill for 12 months. The trades that we target is anywhere from electrical welding, carpentry, plumbing, masonry, roadworks, any of the skills mentioned there. What it entails is it's divided up into 2 portions. We give the young people a theory part where they sit in class for between 4 to 5 months, getting theoretical training. We then, for the last 7 to 8 months, then place them at a workplace. We try and place as many of the youngsters at our construction sites, so where we are building schools, hospitals, or clinics. We try and place young people there. Where we cannot find a host site in the area they come from, we then also have partner companies on board, and they play the role of host employer. What happens then is the support that is offered from our department. We pay 100% of the fees, the textbooks needed, material, course requirements. We give the young people a stipend of 2,500 per person per month. And we also give the young person an accommodation or a transport allowance of 2,000 Rand. So what happens with this program is it's run in every district, and we recruit young people from within that district. So for example, for Central Karoo, the class might be in Beaufort West. So if we have youngsters from Laingsburg or Prince Albert, we would then give them an accommodation allowance to attend the training while it is in Beaufort West. And kids from Beaufort West then would get the transport allowance to get to and from class. We also provide them with PPE and the basic tools of the trade that they're studying for. We also offer what is called apprenticeship programs. The apprenticeship programs are longer 3-year programs with the aim of getting a young person trade tested. We have been running this year 3 artisan programs, one for boiler makers, plumbing, and electrical. There again, our department assists the young person 100% with their tuition fees. We pay the training material that is required. We give them a larger stipend at least of 5,500 per month. Because they're on a higher study level than the learnerships, and also a 2,000 Rand accommodation or transport allowance with PPE and basic tools of the trade. As I indicated earlier, we've got on the NYS, I'm just checking if the slides changed to the next one. There we go. So that's the 3 programs that we're offering in our department at the moment. We've got 170 learners on our NYS program. They are actually coming towards an end now between September and October. They'll be exited where we will get a new intake of 170 young people that will start on the learnership program. In the trades indicated as well. The apprenticeship program, like I've said, we've got the 68 currently on our program. We've got 18 boiler makers who are in year 2 of their study, and 25 electricians and 25 plumbers who are currently in year 1. They've just started with us. We're also trying out a short skills program for 72 young people on solar. Currently, we have them placed with host employers so that they can gain experience and understand what the industry is like. And that is going to be part of the opportunities that we offer to them. We also in our department are running a roads artisan program. This has been going, it's a 4-year apprenticeship. They've had 55 young people that have come through the program thus far. There's a list of the courses that they do. I won't go into each and every one of them. There's currently 7 apprentices that are in the current group that are waiting their trade test by October 2024. So they are placed at our Bellville Mechanical Workshop. Then in terms of our human settlement space, we have a section called Capacity Building and Economic Empowerment. And a lot of the interventions run there are in partnership with outside entities, which I'll speak about the NHBRC that happens to be here, so they can confirm our partnership that we've got with them currently. And other programs are then funded through the HSTRS, the HSD grant, the Human Settlements Development Grant. So the first program that is run there is the program for over 35s. It's a job creation initiative. It's not a permanent employment opportunity. It's not a artisanal training opportunity. It's purely to give anyone that's over 35 work opportunity at a construction site, at a housing site. Where we can't get enough over 35s to participate, we do then encourage young people between 18 and 35 to participate. They also receive a small remuneration or stipend, and that is for about 3 months or so or to 6 months, depending on the availability or the stage of the Human Settlements Project. They also have a work integrated learning program. So this is for TVET college students or even maybe some university students that haven't found work placement. As you know, a lot of the youngsters need to have an element of on-site or practical training for them to finish their qualifications. So we would look at what human settlement sites or projects there are where we can place these youngsters so that they can get that final bit of practical exposure. They also receive a small Nyana stipend. Then around the artisan program that's run there with human settlements, very targeted towards the community home builder program. They've got 60 learners there from 30 in George, 30 in Swellendam. They run an apprenticeship program also for 3 years. That's in partnership with the NSF. They got some funding from them for 103 apprentices that have been on the program since July 2022 in the trades of electrical, carpentry, bricklaying, plumbing, welding. They also offered a 2-year apprenticeship program where young people are getting ready to trade test in November. So it's very exciting. There's 57 of them that have started, and we're hoping that they all are successful. Then just to touch on briefly, we run also contractor development programs in both the housing and the construction space with CIDB. So what is offered on the human settlement side is they do a 4-day technical training for the businesses, for SMMEs, and there's also various other programs. On the next slide, you'll just see I've just put them on a table. Also 3 different offerings that we do. That one, yes. Whether it be construction management training, which is a 45-day theoretical course, all the training also is accredited. There's a construction management course at the NQF level 2 that contractors can attend. There's also finance for non-financial managers at the level 2, which is 25 days. And you can see all the detailed unit standards. I won't go through all of that as well. Then in terms of what we also offer is a structured training contractor development course for grade 1 to 2 contractors. This is an 8-week training program. So contractors come in for 1 week over 8 months, and they get exposure to various theories such as tendering, labor-intensive construction methods, health and safety, as you can see, surveying in the picture over there as well. And then the final contractor development program run is what we call for our advanced contractors. We do a bit of training and mentoring. So for anybody who's grade 3 to 5 contractors that are successful on our program, we've give them 4 weeks accredited training, which is the theoretical part. That's also just 1 week over 4 months. And those that finish the theoretical side are then allowed to get mentors, and they get 16 months of one-on-one mentoring as well. Thank you. That's from us.
Thank you very much. That was mouthful. Members, I was thinking, Member Mary, I see you raise your hand, and from the department's presentation, we already know there is an MOU with the NHBRC. So I'm thinking the ideal thing is to allow NHBRC to also brief us. Then you're going to be able to ask questions from both the department and the NHBRC. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Mechavala, I'm with you.
Thank you, Chair. Most of my presentation actually was made by the Department of Human Settlement, but I would just want to give not that one, the one for training, the first one. Yeah. It was already given by the department, but we are all aware what NHBRC is all about. We are regulating the home building industry, and we're also protecting the interest of the housing consumers. Our motto being to assure quality homes, vision being the champion of the housing consumer, and what do we do under delivery pillars? We protect the housing consumers. We enable home builders to achieve the industry standards and regulate, influence, enforce compliance to building standards. So you can go forward in terms of the legislation that is actually informing us as NHBRC. Second slide, please. In terms of section 3, among the object of council shall be able to assist the emerging home builders through training, inspection to achieve and to maintain satisfactory technical standard of home building. Then section 15(5) and D, council may establish funds for any other purposes, including the training of historically disadvantaged home builders to enhance housing consumer protection measures covered with the scope of the Act. So that is why we are doing training, is part of our mandate as NHBRC to ensure that we provide training to the previously disadvantaged individual. Can you just go forward? That is what we call transformational dimensions, skills development, stakeholder, procurement, and human capital. I'll just be fast. And then we do have social transformation and empowerment program that is to optimize participation of priority and vulnerable designated groups in the NHBRC human settlement sector and NHBRC. We have got different categories: women, youth, people living with disability, military and vets, and categories on employees, owned business, professional, unemployed, graduate, and unemployed citizens. So the NHBRC and the NHBRC strategy and policies. So we have got many focus that we are going to talk about. You can just proceed on service offering, please. So ETD offers accredited courses which carry credits towards NQ Level 3, National Certificates in Building and Civil Construction. The CETA accredited courses are offered to home builders, military veterans, persons living with disability, women, youth, implemented by NHBRC through TVET. So we have got a partnership with TVET, and they are the one who are assisting NHBRC in order for us to fulfill this mandate. In addition to these social transformation and empowerment programs, training is also offered to both internal and external technical professionals. That is our home inspectors, engineers, and so on. Now we go in terms of the designated groups, and we talk about actually this is more on the BBEE spend that NHBRC is supposed to provide to these categories: women-owned spend, and then youth-owned spend, disability-owned spend, military veterans-owned spend. We've got different percentage that we need to offer as the organization. As much as we do have a problem when it comes to, these two categories, especially on the spend, based on the qualification criteria that is set, and the NHBRC providing maybe a high level of tenders that is advertised, where you find that most of the, especially people living with disability and military events, you find that they don't meet those requirements. They only catering more on the caterings and supplying, which is not high much spending. So, but we are trying to tap into that market, and we just to give awareness to those people and how they should qualify for that spending. So in terms of STEP education and training, I have just provided some of the things that we're doing at NHBRC, where I spoke about the targets and also the achievement that we've done for the previous year. That is number of women empowerment program. This is a program that we are giving to women, and we have partnered with GIPS. And this is a full 24 full program where we identify all registered women with the NHBRC. Then we take them through that programs with GIPS. At the moment for this financial year, we are still going through a tendering process. We are on the evaluation stage to get a partner who's going to offer. So we identify 100 women in all the 9 provinces who must participate. And then under that also we have got women contractors developed through skills development. You know, our target was 1,800. We have managed to achieve 1,888. Youth is 1,600, and we have achieved 1,848. People living with disability, our target was 200. We have achieved 261. Military vets, it was 150, 170. And then home builders is 2,000. We have achieved 2,045, and technical professionals 793, artisan 606. And we also provide the internship program. Our target was 50. At the moment, we have achieved 45. These are all young people who come for experiential learning to the organization. So we accommodate them for the period of 12 months so that they gain that experience. Okay, so that is the sectional criteria. I won't talk about it. It's more on the women that we're putting them on the 24-month program. That is the qualification criteria that GIPS requires. So GIPS is the one that must indicate NES qualify, and then we put them on that program where we pay the accommodation, all the fees required by GIPS. Yeah, well, I have just put here the slide that talk about the successes, mostly on the issue of women under social transformation and empowerment of women, the one that we have with GIPS. You know, this is what it does to them. On average, selected 1.7 businesses when enrolled with 1 delegate reporting 5 businesses. This is encouraging in that the program effects will be transferred to other businesses and sectors, and thus amplifying impact. 20% of enterprise improved their CIDB grading. And then there was evidence of rich learning and engagement by delegates with the current content. Delegates were also able to learn from the experience of others, which created a cohesive group while setting the standard for peer learning. 92 women graduated on 6 December, resulting in an 82% throughout the rate. Throughput rate. 92% of the women reported that their network has increased, which is significant for ongoing support and peer learning opportunities into the future. The trainings that we are providing also, we make sure that we partner with all other stakeholders, and just to make sure that the people that we have trained, they've got access also to job opportunities. That is just to show some of the things and the internship. So, yeah, I have already spoken about that in terms of the TVET learners, university graduates. On the internship, we're focusing mostly on young people 18 to 35 years and no experience in home building, but it's different fields in the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate.
So
the
I don't know,
info.
because I was requested also to come with a short presentation on awareness of the NHBRC, which that is the first presentation you have done, or we can just leave it out and focus on the one for.
Okay, the awareness is the parliamentary briefing sessions.
Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe we could have started with the awareness, but I think this was more of the information to us, because we've been trying to engage with NHBRC, I think, for a very long time. If I can be brutally honest, that to an extent that I was not happy at all. And if you were not going to come, I was going to summon you, because we've been trying for this is the second term. So we needed to find out what is it that you've been doing in engaging the briefing, and I appreciate that now you came now, that it's a commitment that was done when we were doing the public hearings on the housing protection consumer bill. And we need to acknowledge and really from bottom of my heart, thank you for coming to Western Cape Provincial Parliament to brief us. But what you engage with, it's as you interact with the Parliament, is the information that we need, so that also we can get a scope of what is it that you engage us, so that when we call you, maybe we can have that relationship moving forward, to know that you don't like when we call you, when we talk about this, because your scope is within this, then it will have that workable relationship. Just for us to have an MOU with you of this relationship, so that it can work both ways. So it was just to restart the foundation for us. So you can maybe shortly just wrap up on it, to talk to it, and then we can take the questions. Members, if you can indulge me with it, is it okay? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and apologize. Maybe some of us were not aware that were required. So from now going forward, we'll adhere to all the requests that is given to us. So, but in terms of this presentation, I think it is going to be shared to all the members, and it's just to indicate what is it that we're doing as NHBRC as far as the awareness is concerned, of visibility and accessibility, just to make sure that the community at large is aware about what we are doing. So I don't know whether you want me to go just highlight a few of the things, because for me, if we are going to share with all the members, and now we are going to have this relationship going forward, I think we'll be knowing exactly what you expect from us, and then so that we make sure that we provide you with whatever you request from us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think the members, they will read, but there's another commitment that it was done from NHBRC, that after the housing protection consumer bill, the hearings, I know the other provinces, they're still busy going on to the public hearings, although Western Cape we are done. There's going to be the road shows that we are going to do. So on that road shows, that is why we needed this, so that as we communicate to the communities, they need to understand what is coming. We can only do it from our side by the media statements, but we need to get the in-depth info of how are you going to engage. And hopefully before you go out, we will call you to come and talk to us, to have an understanding that when you go out there to talk to our communities, it's going to be about what, so that we can amplify your messaging out there. Because as we engage with the communities, there are communities that are left behind. if I can say that way, that they're not aware of all this. And we need to see how can we, especially if you had the MOU with the department, we need to go in depth to find out what is it that can be communicated in the layman's language, because sometimes you give them the information, but it's the information they don't get it because the language maybe that you use is, and I'm not talking English, Afrikaans, Xhosa, I'm talking the messaging is not being received the way it will be we wish it to be. So it can be always that if it comes from both sides, we'll get about 30%, we'll get about 30%, at least we have covered 60% with the messaging as you go out there, and it will be for the benefit of our communities. So that's what we are trying to make sure that at the end we get that. Members, I'm going to open for the questions. And Member Mare, you've been waiting to really ask those questions. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for the presentations today. Every single time we come to infrastructure, I think it's information overload, but that's a good thing. It means that you're working. So thank you for taking the time as well to prepare these very detailed presentations. I know it's not, it's quite time consuming, and I know you've got a lot on your plate, so appreciate it. My first question or interest was the problem statement on skills shortages. And I was just curious about what engagement had taken place with DDAT and the Department of Education in terms of trying to find out who is actually responsible for that. I know that, for example, Minister Wenger has tabled G4J now, and I think that that would be quite an important avenue or strategy to leverage in terms of finding someone or identifying those accountable for addressing skills shortages, because they don't just exist, of course, in the world of infrastructure, they exist all over, and we need to be looking at it holistically, but sometimes holistically means nobody gets put in charge. So just curious about that. Then in terms of the 12-month learnerships, there are targeted trades that are outlined, and I was also just curious to know how these different areas like electrical wiring, construction, carpentry were identified in terms of balancing it against scarce skills. One thing that I've learned being on the road so much lately is that there's a massive shortage of graders, and whether that's also something that you're looking into. And then, Chair, my last one, if you'll indulge me, is just on the work integrated learning. There was mention of a stipend. If I could just get a bit of clarity on what that stipend covers, or how does that help the learner with their day-to-day? That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Seleko.
Thank you very much. How many questions can I pose?
And since I'm generous, today is Friday. Give me all your questions.
No, thank you very much, Chair. No, Chair, just on a lighter note. Firstly, Chair, let me appreciate the presentation. And one also takes note that this all it started in 2006, and it was changed in 2010 to incorporate another function as well. But HOD, you know, I think you know my thinking by now. You know, I always feel sometimes, in most instances, it's a tick exercise. We are chasing targets, you know, and when I appreciate all the stats, Chair. This is so much people that has been put through, and one lacks to hear. You know, Mbulelo Sileku was identified in 2006. He was taken through this program or this skills development initiative. Mbulelo Sileku now is a shareholder in a consortia in the built environment sector. That is what is lacking, HOD. And with that intro, one would want to know in terms of, in our province, individuals that has been taken It can either be individuals, it can either be contractors that has been given a particular skill. Where are those individuals? Where are our success stories that we can say we actually have found value for money? Because we can look at this one and say, because of this is what we have. That is my first question. And also, Chair, the second one, you know, it's a general statement, shortage of skill. It's very vague. Shortage of skill, how does one come to the determination of saying there's a particular shortage of skill? Is it scientifically proven? How much is the municipalities in our province involved? Is there any consultations with municipalities around us saying that these are the kind of skills that we are short of? Because why I'm asking that question, Chair, because it will go to the venture of saying we are securing people that are on the program employment. Where do you secure employment for these individuals that you put through these processes? Where? What agreements do you have in place as a province to say that if people are on NYS for 12 months, they're getting all this stipend of 2,000 and accommodation? What happens after 12 months? Do you have an agreement with municipality A, municipality B that says, this is how we absorb the individual that has been put on all these programs? Do you have such agreements with the different municipalities in our province? I think I will pause there, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I am going to add to the questions. And as I think this program is, we were informed, it started 2006. So I just want to, and it became a training intervention, like it says. What was the diagnostic tool for this? What were you reacting to? And where did you, like member was asking, where do you get your needs analysis to say, I'm reacting to this, and then my supply is going to be this? Because your value for your money has to react to what is needed out there. Then you are not going to create, in my head, I'm telling myself that you are not going to create like your grant to do training, and then our youth, they concentrate on getting the stipend, and then from there you drop them, you go and you pick up another ones. So it has to be, you are skilling a group of people because you know already ASLA or whatever, they need the plumbers for the projects that you know are in the process for about 10 years. So I want to know, how do you go about in making sure that as you train, because it has to be through the demand out there, that you know that you are supply, you like you are manufacturing to supply to the construction industry. And again, to what extent do you determine the percentage of the in-house? Because I take it is the Masaki Sizwe is for the departments, are beneficiaries to the employees, and also outside, they are also the beneficiaries. Now, how do you determine the percentage of the professional portion for outsiders and a professional portion for the in-house? How do you go about determining that? Because you don't know, if you make it available, how many employees are going to say this year, I want to study, considering that you'll find it's Matlodi 3 kids and wife, and so how do you say that you are going to allocate that if you don't have? And to what an extent do you have an agreement with the private sector? And I'm talking to NHBRC. Because if you have the MOU with the department also, that means you have to have that database of the demand of those construction companies that are out there, that they upcoming, or because if I'm coming, or Kayla and Matloli, they've got a construction company, and now we are at the grading is 9, and then we've got this about 8,000 houses we are going to build. Then you have a MOU with the department where you can say that, okay, we are going to need, we can come to you and say we are going to need about so many plumbers. And then you have a MOU to talk to the department also to say, guys, how do we go about that? We are not going to set the target of 500. We're going to set the target of 1,000 because we can see the demand is coming. So to what an extent do you tap into the numbers without ticking the box that Member Seleko was talking about, being you give the numbers reacting to the demand that is there? And on NHBRC, there is a slide that maybe you can explain to me. You said the target was 700. Where is it? I even showed Shemis, but you overachieved. The training is 700, and then you achieved 900. So in the classroom, I tend to believe if you say you're training 700, it will be 700. Now, if achievement is 900 and something, where does the other 200 come from to be, I've got 20 students in the class and then 40 passes? So how do you calculate that so that it can make sense to me? On the slide of the STEP education and training, you can see there, like you've got the 700 number of tech professionals trained, 700, and your achievement is 933. So example like that, how do you go about what happens for you to go? Then the other artisans trained 600, 806. Maybe if you can unpack that for us. And also the training of on the MOU, and what the department mentioned, it differs, the target of people that you train. It differs from the NHBRC and yours. You don't mention your military, veterans, blah, blah, blah. And then here they unpack it to the military, veterans, and is this the extra above what the department MOU, or you've got separate with different departments in the provinces that you do have your target markets differently to train? I think for now I'll just stop there and I'll start with the department and then we'll take yours after. Member Seleko. Everything you said in the meeting is very important, member, but you can continue. Just one.
It's about the gender, and I think I'll do injustice to the HOD if I don't raise this question. If you look in terms of one of the slides, there is, in terms of the people that are currently beneficiaries of the bursaries, you will find that there's 53 is male and 47 is females. And then the first one, in terms of everybody that has participated or that has been benefited in the whole country, you'll find there is about 41,000 male and there is about 5,000 females. If I'm correct in reading that, and one would want to know what steps, is been taken in making sure that the females, step up. Because looking at the stats that has been shared with us, females have been left behind. Because even if you give bursaries, currently there's 57% male for 43 females. So something is missing somewhere. What we just want to share, is there no appetite from the females to be part of this program? Or would you maybe share with us the contributing factors that, as we see the numbers, of females, being part of these initiatives, not, increasing, but keep on, decreasing, because the stats are here, or are we only focused on males? Or just give us more info in terms of the statistics so that we can read it correctly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I forgot only one. You reminded me. The issue of the maths on the tech, I think professionals. I think you started 2006, so surely every professional training you knew that it needs maths. And now I want to find out, because it's one thing that we've been talking about from different committees, that the maths and it's problematic from period. Now, if you know that you are developing this program that is going to make it permanent within the department, that means when you are running short of the students of maths, you have to say, what is it that I'm doing? Because you cannot come up with a tutor when they are in matric. That means you have to groom them to develop their interest. And it's what we are saying in agriculture, develop an interest from maybe when they are in grade 7 or 8. Because you see, by 12, you don't have enough numbers that you need to do. So I want to find out what innovative things you have implemented since 2006 to make sure that you also, that bursary, the kids, they know that there is something that they can do. Thank you very much. HOD and then.
Thank you very much. So perhaps maybe what I should do is, don't have eyes in the back of my head, so my apologies to the committee, to ask the team to pick up on what they can, and then I can come in at the end. There are a few comments I'd like to make, but I'd rather then do it so that you get it originally from the team, and then I'll pick up on the feedback. You okay with that? And I'll keep track of whether we've answered all the questions. Okay, let's go for it. Thanks. Faye?
Okay, good morning. I will be responding to the questions. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try and split them according to how they were asked. The first question was around our engagement with WCET and what are we doing and who are we interacting with and what is the outcome. Okay, what is happening with WCET is that firstly, in order to assess schools, you need to get a profile. We did engage your WCET and then they have given us the approval. The second element is to know who are the life skills teachers, because what we are doing, we are using the life skills session to inform the schools of about the Pasakisizwe Pasare. Then we identify.
To interject, do us a favor. Initially say, when you talk to us, we blank, fill in the information for future reference. So when you give the response, the generic response, it becomes difficult. You develop more questions of clarity. So try to like make an example of, if you say engagement, what does it entail?
Okay.
And then what is the build up from there? Okay. So we will be with you. We can make it like a story, so that remember that we have nothing. No, don't worry about time. The members, they need to chill.
Okay, thank you for that. I was worried about the time. Even the questions that are being posed, we did have in the presentation, but we initially took them out because we were worried about having a long presentation. Okay, with WCET, as I've said, we are of the opinion everybody must play a part. With WCET, there's a nice thing that they have. They have a branch that is responsible for maths and physical science. There is a DDG that is running that to make sure that they focus on maths and physics. And then we have engagement. The reason I didn't put partnership, because our intention is to have partnership at a later stage. But as now we have an engagement. The engagement is whereby we explain to them where we are, that we need access to schools. And secondly, we would like a platform whereby we will be engaging the principals for primary schools as well as secondary schools. I understand that they have forums. I'm going to use forum. They have forums and we need that, but we still need to have a partnership. While we don't have a partnership, what they did is to give us the number of schools that are offering medicine physics. We have the number of schools that offer medicine physics, and we have the list of the schools so that we are in a position when we are engaging secondary schools, we should be able to engage the right schools. And they have given that us, and they have also given us approval. With primary schools, we have taken a decision that we are going to engage majority of the primary schools because we are trying to create or generate interest in the fields. And if you remember, I've said we have, there's a lot of bursaries that are being offered by not us for secondary schools, the elite schools. What we are doing with the life skills teachers, we inform them. In any case, it's not even the life skills teachers. They give us a session whereby we engage the students. And then we inform them, you know what? This is what is required. If you are good at maths, and these are the bursaries that you can apply. We are trying to close, as you have said, as now there isn't much that we are doing as a department. We don't have money, but what we are doing, we are giving them a tool, or we notify them of what is it that they can use to help them in terms of maths and physics. Once we have the engagement with this branch, we'll be able to identify our areas of concerns. At some stage, we did have engagement with it, but it's not formalized. Hence, I've chosen my words very clear. I've said engagement. We don't have partnership, but the intention is to have a partnership with WCET, whereby we are going to have expected outcome. A situation that we would like a situation whereby at least the majority of schools, they do offer medicine schools. They offer mathematics and physical science. However, if the schools are close by, they can maybe identify one school, and then at least that school, because as now we have a situation whereby there are schools that they don't offer that. And as I've said, these are the engagement. We are trying to engage the principals, but now we are engaging the principal on an individual level, but they have notified there's a forum, and that is what we are trying to do, is to have a proper formalized partnership whereby we will be engaging them in their forums. As now we engage the principals as well as the life skills, and then after that they give us the audience, that is the learners, and then we speak to them and inform them of what we have. And we also offer the bursaries. We say these are the bursaries, these are the criteria, these are the closing date, this is a way to, and these are the contact people in the relation if you need more information. That is what we are trying to do in terms of that.
Absolutely. And let me perhaps add, and I take your point around since 2006, but if I may, the program and our understanding of how things contribute to the outcome has developed over the years. So when we first started in 2006, I don't think Fazeka was part of the team at the time. But at that point in time, it was a very simplistic idea. You need to ramp up giving bursaries to students to study at tertiary education, and that's going to solve our problem. And then you start to find, well, actually, that doesn't. We've got a bit of an issue about people when they get there, they're battling with certain of the subjects. All right, well, what do we need to do to provide assistance? And then the tutoring aspect comes in. And then, well, hang on a sec, we're actually having people that when they come into university, they're completely lost. They have, perhaps if it's because we're trying to focus on people from outside of the metro, and I'll pick up that with the point with the municipalities, that that means that potentially somebody coming into university in Cape Town is completely discombobulated, and therefore the buddy system gets added to that as we learn. As we were then also picking up as the team look to award bursaries, and you're finding that the universities are not necessarily themselves accepting students and offering them placement in the built sector, the team start to go, but what's prohibiting that? And you're finding that people are not getting the kind of maths and science marks that they need to. Okay, we now need to start to go, a layer back, which then means what does that look like at the high schools, as Ms. Khai has mentioned. And then you realize, well, actually, potentially at high schools, it's too late. You're needing to go to junior schools. So it is, if I may, something that morphs over time as one realizes the extent to which the underlying system that we're expecting something at the end, because we also assume everybody's taken care of everything up until then, that you actually now need to provide intervention and support. And there are programs, well, they used to be, I'm sure that they still run, things like Go for Gold and others, which are specific programs supported by NGOs and other groups that are targeted at schools. And our team, and that's where Ms. Khai talks about giving back, where we take some of our bursary students and actually get them to go back to the schools and assist learners and be tutors and support in maths classes and so on, and winter classes and programs, etc., or summer classes. So that is something that certainly where a partnership, not a formal as in here's an agreement signed partnership, but a partnership occurs between different organizations that provide the support, because our department can't be everything to everyone. There are others that are out there, and we need to harness that in a collaborative approach. So if I may say, that's also a way, when you asked about innovative approaches, that the team link with others that they're aware of that provide those types of supports and programs to be able to assist and guide and achieve what we want to. The point, if I may, just to pick up the DDAT connection, because I know there is one on the skills program as well, and the G4J, is that certainly the team have worked with economic development and tourism over many years, and indicating these are our programs, these are the different skills programs. So we understand across the Western Cape government, different departments are implementing various skills programs. These ones are being implemented because they fit our wheelhouse, if I could say, in terms of our area of work, the connections and the little p partnerships, if I could use that term, that we have in place. So able to utilize the opportunities as a result of our infrastructure spend, as a result of the connections with professional bodies, SAFSEC and others, that we're able to influence the work and the approach for skills development. So that is part of that link, and certainly the connection that goes in and with economic development and tourism, and knowing that they've got skills, responsibilities and abilities in the G4J, and we are a part of contributing in that particular process. So perhaps, if I may, that was just that additional one, and I apologize. I will now keep quiet and ask Ms. Khai to go on back to some of the questions.
Then the other questions was around the needs analysis. How do we know what is required? In 2006, when it started, fortunately at the time I was in HR and I was responsible for recruitment and selection. We will advertise literally, when I say literal, we will get one application. And by the time we say you are getting the post, and the person will say, thank you, what are you offering? I'm not taking it. And for years, we have been having that. And then that was the time then they decided that, you know what? In any case, that is when we even started having the relationship with professional bodies. Then we wanted to know exactly what is it that we have in the market. At the time, if you look at now with colors, we have 700 and something. At the time, they were less than 200. Literally less than 200. And then we realized that, man, in the market, we literally don't have. Then we started with the bursary program. And fortunately, we started making noise that our salaries are not able to recruit what we want. And because they are not able to recruit, then there was discussion at a national level whereby they came up with OSD. OSDs whereby the engineers are getting a better salary. However, there's terms and conditions. The terms and condition is that they must be professional registered. Then we realized that as a department, we are not in a position to fill our post if we are only giving a bursary, because at the end of the day, we want a situation whereby we are filling the actual post, which requires professional registration, and we assisted it, and then the professional development came into existence, and then we tried. Then that is, we have, it's just as I've said, we did take out the slides in relation to the numbers. As now, in relation to the females, we have 3 females that are already SMS from the Masakisiwe Bursary program. When we had the awards, we invited CPE, and there was a person who was in charge of CPE who was, number one, it was a female, and this person was welcoming the bursars in the technical fields. And to our surprise, HOD, I don't think you know that person was a Masakisiwe bus. And she never even told us prior. Remember, with us, we were just engaging CPE. We didn't know that this person. And then this person said, first, I was the one of those, that group of 2006. And that I was like, how soon we are going to have someone who's saying, I'm the CFO of this and I'm from Masakisiwe Bursary. And that is the change. We have, as I've said, we have 3 SMS within the department that are coming through the program. One of them is already a chief director, is coming through the program. And we also do what is called analysis of PESAL. Analysis of PESAL is whereby in the department we check the structure. How many engineers do we have, and how many are going to approach retirement, and how many vacancy posts do we have? When we started, the vacancy rate was so high. But if you look at it now, the vacancy rate has literally improved. And secondly, in terms of transformation, at the time, it was so male-dominated, and majority of them, it was white males. But if you look at it as now, you will see that there is really a difference. It's just that you must remember the professional registration is with engineers is 5 years. That means in 5 years' time, we are not in a position to fill the post with the people. And to make sure that we are trying to get these people with the graduate placement, what we are doing, I did say we engage the companies. In terms of the ones that came out last year, we have 34% has been placed within the department, and 57% is with the private sector, and then the 9% were released. There was a question, how do we know who needs what? Because we were fighting with the private sector when we started, is that we were trying to recruit and they were giving the offer and we were not able to feed. That is the time then we started what is called Bursary Collaboration Venture. With Bursary Collaboration Venture, we have companies that are part of this program. They are paying 50% of the bursary. And with the 50% that they are paying, because we don't want that thing that we were doing initially, taking from each other, stealing from each other, being very conniving towards each other. Now, what we did, if you are paying 50%, then you make sure that you employ those people and you take them to a professional development program. And the companies literally are doing that. They employ, they identify the number of, they give the criteria, they make sure they give us the bursars in relation to our criteria, as we have said, our preference we have indicated, and they give us those candidates. And then we pay 50% and then they employ. That is how we get to know who wants what. And they indicated the discipline. That is why we also know that there's new emerging disciplines that we needed to cover. The success stories, as I've said, it's just that we didn't bring up the list. But in terms of last year, we have 57%. And in terms of the females as now, I did indicate with EXA, it's 8%. And with the department, we have 30%. It's because our fitting, we are trying, it's difficult to get 50%. At times, we do get 50%, but at times, we also don't get it. And we also don't want a situation whereby we are going to purely give the bursary to females, because we'll have a situation, a reverse situation at the end of the day that is going to catch up with us. We don't have that, but we are trying to balance. The reason majority of females are not interested, that is our perception, is that what happens with technical fields, one, you are required to travel. And if you are a younger person coming from, you are not able to do that. At times you're starting a family, maybe those are the challenges. But if we are competing with medical fields and BSc, you will find out that when they apply, they will even say their preference won't be the our engineering fields. Most of the time, their preference is not engineering. It's their second preference. And to an extent, we have what is called in the department second selection. After we have awarded the bursary the first time, once they don't take the bursary, not because they are not accepted by universities, they are accepted by university, but they have decided to take other fields. And then what we do, we have a second selection whereby we ask the universities, what is it that you have as now? Can you give us the names of those people? And then from there, we will check on our criteria so that we can give the bursary in relation to what we want. A partnership, I did say that we do it in terms of 50-50%. That is how we know. And with the shortage of skills, the other element, Department of Higher Education, they have what is called, they identify scarce and critical skills in the country. And we use that. They publish it after 3 years. We use that as the basis of identifying what is needed, and we engage professional bodies as well as National Public Works. National Public Works, they also remember CBE, councils are reporting to National Public Works. They did identify that there is this gap. There is a shortage of skills in terms of technical fields. What did they do? They form a forum whereby all the provinces are required to provide the bursary, whereby all the provinces are required to assist in terms of professional registration so that we can change the stats where we are. That is how we identify the analysis. I think I have covered. But the success stories are just indicated the ones who got the higher post, but there's a lot of them. There's a lot of our engineers. Some of them, they have even started having their own companies. And that is because one of the things that we are trying to do is to make sure that we build our economy. Thank you.
Chair, perhaps just to add a point, there was a question and it links back to the general skills program, but also our municipalities involved. And certainly Ms. Gai has engaged through the Department of Local Government, if my memory serves me correctly, and interacted with municipalities, understanding that underpinning whatever we need in our country and in our province, municipal infrastructure is key to that. And being able to maintain it and manage it is important. And that means that you generally need engineers at a municipal level. And of course, across most municipalities, you don't actually find professionally qualified engineers. You may find a technician, and I'm not being derogatory at all, but there are differences between them. So what part of the reason why we have a focus outside of the metro in terms of a preference is that there is a hope that if somebody comes, and I'm going to use one of our roads engineers, somebody comes from Oudtshoorn, they are more inclined because their family is there to want to go back to Oudtshoorn, as opposed to somebody who grows up in the city and kind of thinks, oh, I have absolutely no interest of going to Beaufort West and becoming an engineer in Beaufort West because I love the city life. And so it is with that in mind. Where there has been difficulty, because of course we say we will pay for the bursary, we will pay for the entire training that's required, but the municipality needs to be able to say that they will take up that person and pay them. And more often than not, that's where things fall flat, because the municipality then says, we don't have the money to be able to actually employ the person. So the partnership is there, and the working together and the identification, and there have been a few, so let me not say it's a zero count. There have been a few, but we haven't been able to get over that particular hurdle yet in the municipal space. The other part, just to flag, is that when somebody graduates, as Ms. Gai has mentioned, they mustn't think for one moment that they're an engineer or a technician, because actually they know nothing. After 3 years or 5 years or however many years, I'll admit it, even me at the end of my university career, I knew nothing when I landed up going to work. And so you need that mentoring and the support around the professional development program. And more often than not, of course, you don't have that professional in the municipality who's now going to be able to mentor the graduate that's coming in. So you also have that particular dynamic. And the moment you then place the person with private companies, with consultants, with contractors, etc., before you know it, that private company or the consultant has actually offered them a job because they are desperately looking for people themselves. Of course, all of this takes place on and within the ambit, if I may just say, from a view that historically and as a country, we say we want infrastructure-led growth. But with where we are sitting now, I can say the construction and the built environment sector as a whole is under severe pressure because those are the budgets that are cut. They're not the budgets that are protected because we have a view, and I understand it, we protect our health systems, we protect our education systems, we protect our social systems, and we say infrastructure can wait, which then means that the construction industry and the consulting industry and even our own department and others, municipalities and so on, don't have the money to direct towards the infrastructure side of things. So when you have this kind of downturn, what then happens in comparison is other countries globally have got an infrastructure-led recovery program post-COVID. Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, and so on. And a lot of our engineers, architects, professionals, QSs are leaving our shores, youngsters and olders. And that is a concern. So we can train, we can develop. It's important we do so. And it's actually, some can say, well, we are training and we're developing people. And if they leave our shores for the moment, okay, hopefully one day they'll come back with greater experience, greater knowledge, and be able to contribute back when South Africa's ready. That doesn't mean we must stop training. I'm not advocating that we must stop it. I think any program that gives hope to our youth, no matter where they land up in the world, here or anywhere else, is important. And this is an incredible profession from a built sector that can set you up into any myriad of future career paths. So you don't have to stay an architect or an engineer or a quantity surveyor. Many of them move into the kind of business consulting and other environments as well. So while one sees these stats that are presented from the professional registration, one must also realize what we don't have, and I don't know whether the team do, but what we don't have necessarily is people that graduate but don't necessarily go and register, because they then deviate into other career paths and so on as well. So this is giving you that kind of registration stat, but doesn't necessarily give you a picture of the entire skill set that sits there. Sorry, I deviate a little bit, but just to add a little bit more context to the conversation. Pat, over to you on the skill side.
Thank you. So I'm going to tackle about 4 questions in the response I want to give. The one on targeting of trades, how it's identified, the demand analysis, what are we reacting to in terms of the need and where they are employed. So I'm going to try and tackle all those 4 quickly around the skill space. So under the National Youth Service, the 12-month NYS program, as I indicated, it's run regionally. So in each region, we offer this trade, the skills programs. The trades identified are not, the same trades are not offered annually. We identify the trades early on in the year in Q4 and Q1 when we do our planning. Our first placement would preferably be departmental projects. So we would get from our department a list of projects that will be coming out, ongoing long-term projects. And then we identify, for example, if in Garden Route there's this long-term housing project that will take place, we know we need to train bricklayers, carpenters, plumbers. So then we identify those trades. For example, if we now see that our department won't have any construction sites, maybe in Central Karoo, we then look at what are the host companies that are, or the trades that is required in the Central Karoo area. So we've also got what we call training liaison officers in each area. And those training liaison officers at the beginning of Q1 would give us through, and we discuss and we plan around the need for the area. So they would say there are so many host employers that are in the area they're looking for, like for example, in Overberg bricklaying or carpentry, or in Central Karoo, like I said, maybe painting or welding. So that is how we would identify based on where we can place learners. So annually the trades change, we analyze to see where we can place. And like I say, we first look at what the department has on offer for where youngsters can go. What do we do with them? With our host employers, we have a host employer agreement as well. So they would sign that with a young person and our department to say that they will undertake to supervise, look after the learner, ensure that the learner is doing their learning outcomes and not just being an add-on in their company doing photocopying. The learner has a logbook with learning outcomes which needs to be signed off so that they can be given their certificate at the end of the day to be found competent. What we also do is so that's the demand, that's the analysis. Around the municipalities and do we work with them? We do work very closely with municipalities. A few years back with the Garden Route District Municipality, we had a partnership with them to train plant operators, where they had offered to give us the plant, because plant operator training, I think the member had asked about graders specifically. It's very expensive to do that training because now you need to have a young person actually practice on these diesel heavy machines. So for us, luckily, Garden Route said they're willing to give us the machines if we're willing to just train a few youngsters. And luckily, that was a very successful program because the Garden Route municipality even absorbed some of those youngsters once the learnership was over. I must say, on that program also, we had very successful females that we trained as plant operators. It's a very good program, in demand, but very expensive to run, as you can understand, because the plant is expensive. So those were the areas I thought I would cover. Like I said, we do a lot of analysis prior to our trades being advertised, what is required. Oh yes, there was a question around what is the stipend used for the WIL program. That small stipend is basically an allowance to get the young person to and from site, buy them something to eat. It's just meant as a little stipend for that transport covering cost. That was that. So I think, I don't know if I covered 4 too quickly. Oh yes, and success stories. I've got them here as well. It was stuff that we had taken out because we weren't sure again about length and all of that. So again, around success of young people, I must say on our apprenticeship program, we've got a lot of success that once young people are in the longer 3-year program, they do get absorbed so quickly by their host employer company, and sometimes to the detriment because we don't want them to leave before they finish their 3 years. So once they get this offer of permanent employment, we found they don't always finish their studies and finish the trade. So they find the job, they take it, but if they just stayed and did their 3-year apprenticeship, they would have been able to get a better job. But some of them don't look long-term like that. They look at what their need is at the moment. So a lot of what we try and do is try and talk to those host employers and say, please don't poach them now. We will, at a later stage, once they qualified, there will be much better space. So from our side, from our learnership perspective, we offer it in every district. So there's so many stories per area. In June, we had a recruitment drive where we would also bring together young people and have existing learners that are on our program, share with them what it's like to be on the program, where they are right now. So for example, in Beaufort West area, we've had a learner there who got a contract employment with the Beaufort West municipality, Mr. Tansangwa Foba. From Mossel Bay area, we had a Mr. Hatting who did bricklaying as a learner who got employment with Mossel Bay at Omega Watt. We had 2 female road worker learners from Stanton in the Overberg area, Ms. Bashira Jacobs and Ms. Narina Williams, who got appointed with Forbfair Construction Company. And that was also, they were there as learners at the host employer and were seen to be doing good. And again, from our side as a department, we pay everything. The learner doesn't have to pay for anything. All we ask is that they are dedicated, disciplined, and have a good attitude. Because if you do well where you are placed, your opportunity to be absorbed is so much more because the competition is tight out there. And while we give as much as what we can to create a well-capacitated youngster, we give them life skills training when they enter our program. We also give them CV training when they exit our program. So they can become more employable, marketable. Some of them even go on to doing further studies and further training or exit out into some other field. We had health and safety learners that were trained in Overberg. One of them exited into studying nursing further as an assistant nurse. We've got a lady called Samantha Francis from Worcester. She did electrical level 3 and she was permanently employed with Transnet. We've got a gentleman, Mr. Reuters from Gouda, who also did his level 3 electrical and was appointed with an electrical company in Paul because they then got to do their practical on that side. I'm not sure how many others I must speak around. That was that. I'm being tapped to say that's fine. So clearly I'm covered there. So even around, okay, the same is spoken about for our human settlements programs. But I'll pause for there if there's more clarity required.
Thank you very much. NHPRC.
I think our question, Chairperson, was more on the MOU with the department. And number 2, it was why our targets are not the same as the department. And the third one was about why did we exceed the targets. I will start with the MOU with the department, and I will couple it with the why our targets are not the same. Department of Human Settlement is our shareholder. We report direct to the department. The only targets that they set for us is based on the BBE status in terms of procurement spend. But when you talk about this other skills development, they don't set it for us. Like I have indicated, Section 3 of the Housing Consumer Protection Measures Act gave NHPRC an obligation to train a previously disadvantaged individual. Our training is based on many things. One, we register. All builders who must construct houses must be registered with us. And it is the obligation of NHPRC to provide them with the training so that they can be able to comply with the all the requirements or the standards that has been set for them. Number 2, we do have those builders who are registered with us. They must also send to NHPRC their laborers who must be trained in order for them also to comply with the set standard. Number 2, our training also is based on the technical non-compliances that were issued on site because builders are failing to perform according to those standards. And then we have to provide them with the training. The third part is we have partnered with SAWIC members, especially on the women empowerment program that we are offering through GIPS. So our training that we are offering, it will be different from that one offered by the department. But at the end of the day, all those trainings that we are offering as NHPRC, we are supposed to report to the department. We set targets with our council members, and then we intend to achieve. Why do we exceed the targets? In all 9 provinces, we do have training officers. Each training officers have to engage with their provincial department where they will give them, this is the targets or the types of training that we want to offer to our people. And then we consolidate those training. Those targets that you have seen here is for all 9 provinces. Then we come and say, for this financial year, we are going to train 2,000. But you find that during the course of the year, the department come with different needs and they request us to train those people. We can't as NHBRC say already, you have given us the target and we are not allowed to exceed. So it's based on the needs that the different departments is giving us. Hence, you find that in most of the targets we have exceeded the targets that we have set for ourselves.
You continue if you're going to continue. I do understand that it can be the other provinces. So my question is, like, when you have a tech professional trained, that means there is a tertiary institution involved,
Yes.
and it's going to be the intake on your target. It will, and the start time and the end of the training, it's set by a tertiary institution. So from the start, your intake, it will be about 700. Usually the universities, it can be that you align your budget to that. What you can afford, it's 700 for that financial year. Then you know that I've got the 700. So I want to understand, if I'm going to train as a teacher, I'm going to make an example easier. Then I'm going to train as a teacher. Intake is the beginning of the year, the University of UWC. It's 700. And then you pay for that. How come the outcome of the training, you've got 900? When did the others come in? Because the outcome is those who qualified. That's what you report. So from the intake of 700 at a professional institution, at a university, it's 700. So it sort of make me understand the 900 part of it, that 200 is there the short course that you count on the professional of the 3-year term, or what is it all about? Or maybe I don't understand like your artisans that I know that for a fact that they have to get that tertiary. And how do you go about to do that? Do you have 2 intakes per year in the university? And if it's that, why from the onset the target is not like, because it's 2 intakes, you don't count it as the 900?
In terms of those kind of trainings, especially the one that you have given as an example, Chairperson, the artisans, we have the MOU with TVET. So in the beginning of the year, we will enroll 700, like you put it, 700.
Yeah.
And you find that during the course of the year again, we have the demands that is coming maybe from all the provinces where they want to add. So we will re-enroll them on the additional that the department has given to us. But the initial, it was 700, and that was budgeted for is 700. But now we have to increase the budget. We have to request the variation because now we have got additional demands that is coming from the department, which we are not also allowed to return them. But we will have to re-enroll them with the different with TVET, or we provide them depending on what is it that they request. Let's say it's women. We have indicated in terms of our service offering that we are providing them with the CETA accredited modules that is focusing on youth, people living with disability and the like, depending on what is it that the department has indicated, then we take them through that those programs that we already have by appointing maybe a service provider who can provide those trainings. So those are additional, which is above the targets that we have set for this financial year.
When you report them as the 900 at the end and as a technical professionals, they qualify at the same time, even if they came in during the course of the year. I think that's the only concern that I'm trying to say, that why do you have the different number if the qualification takes 3 years? but you report it at the same time as if they started the same way. So what type of training is that? Because if it's 3 years, it's 3 years. So it has to be 700. For 3 years, you're going to have 700. And how beautiful it is that they pass all of them 700 and you don't have anyone that falls out, and you've got even more to overachieve at the tertiary institution. That's what I'm trying to find out now. What is it that is different that you are doing to have those results? Because from the Department of Education, definitely you don't have those numbers. I'll question you more deeper if I can see it that way, because our kids, they don't sometimes do as we wish them to do to have that. So the outcome will be different than numbers. But NHBRC, it seems they've got something that are doing that is different, that we have to learn that best practices to have an understanding of even increasing rather than having the dropouts in between.
Chairperson, we are offering the short modules, 4 months, 12 months, up to an national diploma, which is up to level 6. So we are putting them on different programs per quarter. That 700 was not achieved in like one financial year. It was achieved in the financial year, but on different quarters. We took maybe 200 on the first quarter. We took another 200 on the second quarter, like that, until that target that we have set for ourselves is achieved. So it's not the same as where you are putting the student for the period of 3 years. So in 3 years, they need to achieve that target. No. It tallies from short to long term, but not exceeding 12 months. Yes.
I think the department have to help me. The MOU, does it include the professional training, and what does it exclude from the NHBRC?
Okay, I wasn't going to respond on that particular question. I'll have to phone a friend for that particular response, Chair. I was going to try to give an interpretation of my understanding of what I'm hearing in terms of the numbers. So if I'm understanding correctly, that through the year you've got different training programs, and that these are then the numbers of people that have gone through a particular training program, whether the training program is 3 months or 6 months or whatever the case may be. It's not that at the end of the training program, they come out with a professional qualification. So it's not number of technical professionals trained, excuse me, it's not number of people trained to become technical professionals. These are number of technical professionals. So they've already got qualifications and they have gone through some kind of training program to add to their knowledge, almost like a continued professional development process. That's what I am picking up from the explanation, Chair, and why therefore you may say 700, but if you've got 60 people that enroll for a program, perhaps about understanding, I'm thumb sucking, I'm making something up, asbestos removal, that maybe you only had 40 that you thought you would get, but actually you've had 60 people enroll for that program. You've now overperformed by the time you get to the end of the year because more people have participated in your training programs. That's how I'm understanding it. Perhaps it's wrong, but that's
Thank you very much for that clarity. It makes a huge sense. Now, I was throwing the net in. Now, make me understand, if that's the case, how do you have a surplus of money to increase to those numbers to have the ad hoc trainings above all that? I mean, look, those are professionals. You added with 206. You added with it's extra additions. That's really so. How do you go about to have some extra that you can train more? And why didn't you budget for it initially, that you are going to have 900. You know, if you increase with 33, it's beautiful. It makes sense, 33, but 233 but if you don't have the information now, it's one that will engage and also as the department to try to get the information for us that if the department comes to you and say, hey, we've got another artisans that needs training about 200 and already the money they deposited to you for the training, it's set. How do you go about to accommodate them? Or the department, where do they get the surplus if we have the budget cuts to pay to that extra 200? That's why I'm trying to find out that where and how do you go about to make sure you don't have to answer me if you don't have the info. You can always help us to get that information.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair. What I can answer is that we don't get any budget from the department. All this training that we are offering here is paid and funded by NHBRC only. That is number one. If you look at that first category, Women Empowerment Program, that one you can see is 100 and the achievement is supposed to be 100 because those ones we are enrolling them in the beginning of the year in GIPS institution. Now, when you enroll 100, you can only have dropout or something, but the end result was supposed to be 100. So that is a 24 program. That is the only program where we are enrolling women in a university where they need to complete 2 years program. And we are funding that program 100% also. And all these others short courses that we are offering to them. So we are not getting any budget from the department. The budget is for NHBRC. Yeah.
Thank you very much. But I've got the memorandum of understanding here. So make me understand that statement because here it says you shall deposit the funding annually of the stipend to the NHBRC. And I know that there is a fee that the contractors pay to them. In my mind, it was they are using that money. Now, this is a unique setup. That is why we're trying to find out.
Okay, so also just to say your figures, they are speaking on nationally, it's not specific to the Western Cape. So the agreement that was signed there, I will give over to my colleague, Mr. Marlon Sapotka, will talk to the agreement and how it is linked with, like I said earlier in the presentation, the HST grant, where we do co-funding. So maybe you can talk to those two.
Thank you, Chairperson. Basically, the agreement was drafted in 2019, so a 5-year period, and it has a validity till August of 2024. So we have engaged already with the NHBRC with forging a new MOA. And also, I was just speaking to the two ladies, two senior managers, maybe we should include and expand more on the agreement to allow for professional development. But how it actually works with the MOA currently as it stands is for artisan development. So it is basically for the technical training and artisan development contractor training. So it doesn't actually include the professional extended training of engineers and so forth. With the stipends provided is we would develop a training need or a training plan and link it to the stipends and amount of persons we plan on training. With that plan, and the finance part is we would then do a tranche payment to the NHBRC to fund the stipends. We would receive this the registers that is signed by the learners and attendance registers, and we would verify it in our office. And once we do a verification process, we would then send it to the provincial NHBRC office where they would verify it again, and it would be then sent to the national office, and the stipends would be disbursed to those learners directly in their bank account. It is quite a quick system because within 1.5 weeks, the learner gets his stipend maximum 1.5 weeks, 10 days later, the stipend should be in his bank account. So there's no, it is for a youth learner 170 Rand per day. So it's basically we keep it in line to the EPWP stipends in order that if our learners in the same stipend as those of the previously Department of Public Works learners, then when they come on one site, there's no discrepancies. You're getting more than me, then there's a problem. So we kept it in line with the EPWP rates. So that is for the learners, and also our over 35 program, we run also the same. It was something that was created post the pandemic, high unemployment rate. We also created an over 35 program for persons over 35 who lost their work to include them as well. And there was also a question regarding the military veterans. They get included, accommodated under the over 35 program. The reason for that being is if we have an amount of, we have 20 learners, we can't actually, and we can't reach our target with military veterans, so we can take other persons over the age of 35 and make a mix of military veterans and other persons over the age of 35 to fill the classroom for training.
I'm not going to ask about the EPWP. There is a member that is so passionate about the EPWP, and I suspect he might ask about EPWP because you talked about the aligned but different, and while the grant is on us, I'm not going to tell you who's the famous member of the EPWP, but I'm going to ask this one. We do have the military veterans problem throughout the years, that identifying who's the military veterans is a problem. Now, if you do have them, where do you get the list? Because there's been a problem of the beneficiaries for the housing of getting who qualifies as a military veteran. Do you have a formula now that is working for you to identify who has to get that assistance from the military veterans? Where do you get the list for that? Because it's one of the problems. It's the luxury of being a member maybe for the second term, that you get the information of what are the problems and what is the successes through.
There is the Department of Military Veterans where we obtain the list done. We do also verify it according to the updating of the list. So there is a kernel that we, from the Department of Military Veterans in Cape Town, who we actually liaise with. I just don't have the name on the top of my head at the moment, but there is a Department of Military Veterans we consult to obtaining the list of military veterans.
I'm going to leave it for now because
we have done it in
stories.
Forest Village as well. Okay, thanks.
No stories. I'm going to leave it for now of the military veterans, because you get a 32-year-old that says I'm a military veteran. Yeah, so that is why I'm going to leave it for now, so that we are not in trouble or saying when we engage, we get the 32-year-olds, 34-year-olds, but we haven't been involved. So I don't want to be quoted. Member Seleku, any questions?
Chair, I'm not going to go the route of the EPWP. But Chair, that I've just got some concerns that in one of your slides, artisan development intervention. Can we quickly go to that particular slide? I see there's about 30 learners in George, 30 learners in Swellendam. Are they doing training there or do they come from there?
George.
They are basically from the local area. All the training is done in the specific area. So the training get taken to that area and get trained in the area. The George learners are trained by African Skills at the venue in African Skills in George, and the Swellendam learners is trained at the venue in George. Swellendam, sorry.
The reason, Chair, I'm asking that, so was the focus only for these two towns?
It's linked to the projects in the specific area, because after they train, they will go on site. And there has to be a project on site in the local area of municipal area. So there is a project in the area, and the learners get trained and placed and a job opportunity on the project.
It's clear. Thank you very much, Chair. And Chair, also in terms of the 103, since that had been on the program since July 2022, one would appreciate if you can just get the specifics, just to get an understanding where does the 103 come from in our province. That will be for a later stage. And also in terms of the 2-year program, with the trade testing November 2023, one would want to have more specifics in terms of that, just to get an understanding that the rural areas are not left behind. Because I come from a rural area in Theewaterskloof. I was raised in Beaufort West and born there. So it's always everything they need to benefit, that's why I'm here. I would just like more specifics. Lastly, Chair, on the EPWP. Let's go to NYS. They said it's regional in terms of the selection. And then it's also EPWP. So can you just explain to us as members of the committee, what process do you follow in identifying participants? And would you say, as we are seated there, that there is no political interventions, that your processes are as transparent as it can be, and that the people that are identified are not politically aligned, does not come from the office of the mayor of a particular municipality, that is a free for all? Thank you very much, Head of Socials.
I think maybe to add to the question is, you don't have the database of the EPWP list. Is the municipalities that you do have, or do you have your own EPWP database where you identify? Because if you are going to take the EPWP in Swellendam, that means the EPWP database is the municipality EPWP database. So how do you engage with the municipalities as your partner in identifying and the participants, and how do you separate the ones for the grant, and what is the policy aligned to that? Because you've got that database that already they are going to be beneficiaries for the grant of the EPWP, and you come with something extra to take from the same pot. So how do you separate? How do you also monitor there's not that political interference? And we are saying this because we've seen the people coming to us in the meeting saying that, no, I'm going to vote party because of they've given me the EPWP job, and it's being used as a baton to hit each other there. And we are like the messiahs out there to come and deal with the problems that we need to understand. How do you make sure that when you get the candidates to be beneficiaries using the EPWP principle, it has to be really monitored to make sure, and especially HODs, you being the coordinator for the EPWP, also to a certain extent we are holding you accountable to make sure that you monitor that it doesn't get to be used, and that is separate you giving. We had a chat with Minister, I think in the committee, and we will make sure. So okay. So how about you?
So just before Pat picks up on some of the points, I following from the comment you just made, I think it is important to understand that when we talk about the expanded public works program, it's incredibly broad, and it isn't just an infrastructure sector. there's the social sector, your environmental sectors, community-based programs, and so on. And as a result, with all respect, I am not going to ask Pat to say she can put her head on a block to say that for every single EPWP program across the Western Cape that is operated and run by municipalities, departments, organizations, CBOs, that there is absolutely no political interference. I don't believe that anybody, I certainly can't sit here and say that there isn't. I can't say that there is, okay, either, because the programs are so diverse and are managed and run, and our coordination is insofar as getting the reports around work opportunities that are actually being generated, and certainly where there are complaints that come through, our teams try to engage and understand and figure out what is going on or has happened, and try to see whether there is any misuse or abuse of systems. I am aware that the National Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has been putting in place and looking at an EPWP policy, which includes also a selection process, so criteria and approach to selecting beneficiaries for EPWP programs. So they have tried to put a particular procedure in place. And then insofar as our department, and let me now say historically TPW, not the human settlements part, we had a policy that was sanctioned by Cabinet, so a particular procedure and policy around community selection for work on sites, as well as then the appointment of a community liaison officer. That was a requirement to be followed in terms of our contractors. That was part of our contract process. What we are doing is reviewing and renewing that policy, because the world has changed a bit, and looking to include, of course, the human settlements part of the portfolio now for infrastructure in that, and actually taking it to Cabinet to try to make it applicable for the Western Cape government as a whole, because of course you now have the Department of Education, the Department of Health implementing their own infrastructure projects, remembering this is just infrastructure specific. So I need to protect the team to say, with all respect, through you, Chair, to the Honourable Member, I don't believe that any one of us here can say that there is no interference, but we also can't say that there is. Okay. But in response to how things are identified and so on, I'm sure Pat would be able to add to that. But I needed to protect her from stepping in that minefield.
Wow, thank you, HOD. Oh, got a good boss. So just around the NYS program, how our recruitment is done, we have adverts that go out for the public to see. We do our recruitment via the SA Youth Mobi Harambee site. So all youth, and that's why we spend the month of June. There's a whole month that young people have to apply. From the 1st of June till the end of June, the advert runs, all the trades, so young people can see what it is. It's open in terms of Harambee system is run free for young people to apply. For those that have, it's data free, so it doesn't disadvantage young people in the rural areas. We fully and 100%, there's no physical CVs that we take in. We just recruit off Harambee. So if young people had an opportunity to apply and log on and register, we fill the class based on the list we then get from Harambee. We then spend a month then going through shortlisting, invite, so for example, we're only going to have 15 people in a class, but we invite 60 people from the area to come for interviews. We interview them on basic questions just to pick up aptitude, interest in the some people want to apply for electrical, they don't even know what it fully entails. So we're trying to suss out who's just here for a stipend, who actually wants to gain a skill, because we don't want to also have young people on the program and drop out whereas they're keeping the place for somebody else that could have been here that really wants a trade and needs it. So we do a recruitment and selection from Harambee. We do interviews. We do also a aptitude test in partnership with the Department of Labor. They come and do a basic aptitude skills test in the morning. In the afternoons, we do the interview. We've just finished, like I said, that process is off now, and we're busy finalizing our final class list, which we will then give through Notify Youngsters in October, who is successful to be part of our program for the next 12 months. Around the general EPWP and participants, what our office does is a lot of oversight and a lot of advocacy sessions. We go to councillors, we go to mayors, we go to officials to explain what recruitment and selection should be like, how open, how free, how transparent. We go to sector meetings as the Department of Infrastructure to do a lot of advocacy, because at the end of the day, the reputation of the program cannot be tarnished, because it does a lot of good for the few that do get to participate, and we need that money for the difficult times that we're in. So where there are complaints, because often I do also contractor development, people also have similar complaints. This contractor comes, this person is connected, this person is a gangster, this person is whatever. We don't know until the person is on site what. If people have gone through a fair and transparent process, we don't know until we get complaints from an area. If complaints are sent through to our office, we take it very seriously. We've got regional staff that we ask to look into it. Sometimes, like the HOD has indicated, there are national projects happening in our municipalities. There's local projects. So we try and establish which EPWP sector this is, which provincial department is involved. And then if we do find anything, we do escalate it very quickly to our National Public Works Office. We escalate it to the leadership in charge of that project. And any complaints is taken very seriously by our office. Like I said, we look into it up until, I mean, as a director, I would look into that myself even. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that is, oh, before I forget, NHBRC, there was a commitment of all those trainings that you ask the contractors to sort of do the training to get their papers. And I highlighted that there are some, you get a brilliant bricklayer, but hasn't been to school. But if you can ask the questions orally, will pass and will get an A. And I asked the NHBRC if that can be the other option for you to hold the test like that, so that those people also can have the documents for them to go into the small enterprises to create an opportunity for them. Do you see yourself implementing that, or already you are doing that?
Thank you, Chair. In all the training that NHBRC is offering, we are offering also certificates for it.
Orally, not writing, because you might find, Matlhodi, I did grade 1 and 2, not grade 1. Those who can sub A and sub B. Grade 1 is a new thing. It's modernized version of education. I did the difficult one, grade sub A and sub B. And now I cannot, I can't write that fancy English, but if you ask me, I can respond to your questions. Do you hold the tests orally also for the benefit of those people to have the certificate to be able to create the companies that they can also be recognized, or you only do it in writing?
Being bricklaying, painting, those are practicals. So they don't write any test, but they do practical training and they receive certificate for that. In terms of like what you are asking, like we are registering home builders. We do have those people who actually they were builders all along before we were born, but they cannot read and write. So we are asking them the questions. How do you mix cement and soil? they can explain to you, and they are interviewed, we record them, and they can able to get the certificate for that through practical and answering questions like that. We do have.
Thank you very much. I'm asking this because I was a counselor in Cedarburg, and in Citrusdale we had an electrician. It was an older guy that people didn't like electricians didn't like working in Citrusdale. It's very boring. And you'll get electrician will work only for 3 months, go and say, no, I cannot. But that guy was electrician, acting manager, everything in that municipalities in Citrusdale for a very long time. The only thing for him, he couldn't be promoted to be the manager, even though he was managing, because he didn't have the certificate. And I tried to take him to SETA. Then it was a SETA that we will write the exam. And so I missed the part of writing or oral. And he failed when he went to do the writing. And after that, could have said oral so that he does the oral, and I know he would have qualified to get that. So it's not bricklaying only. Also, we've got the electrician that can go wiring of the houses, the plumbers that will need to write. But I think it will be important if they can have the option for them to be able to have a qualification, the certificate, so that when they say they get to open up the companies to sort of train others to follow them, because those are very quality plumbers and electricians that taught themselves. So that will be appreciated maybe from the NHBRC if you can also introduce that in your system. It will be beneficial to the bigger communities that we call the historically disadvantaged communities.
It's not a chairperson.
Much. HOD, any last word?
Judges, thank you very much. I really appreciate this and appreciate the committee kind of taking us up when we said that perhaps it'll be useful to go into a little bit more detail on certain of the programs of the department. And certainly appreciating that the committee, historically being human settlements, is also then picking up some of the nuances and connections between what is possible now for a Department of Infrastructure. So just from my side to you and to the committee, sincerely appreciate the opportunity today, and to the team, thank you for the preparation. Thanks.
Thank you very much. NHBFC?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Maybe what I can request from this forum, you see, I feel maybe my presentation was supposed to be more focused to Western Cape. Maybe I will prefer that, you see, in future, so that will become relevant, like the MOU they are talking about. It is not global what they are doing in Western Cape in terms of that MOU where they pay stipend to the learners. It's not across the board. Some of the provinces, they are not paying anything. But if I was only focusing on Western Cape, then I should have spoken about that MOU. So I'm requesting that in future we get a proper brief and what is expected of us. Maybe some of those issues that they have mentioned, even skills development that also include employees, qualification, professionalization of our inspectors. We also have that, you know, through certain accredited companies. So I'm just requesting that. But otherwise, thank you very much for being exposed, and I apologize on behalf of NHBRC for the call that you have made all this time and we're not coming on board. We're not aware, some of us, we are in a lower level, maybe we did not have the opportunity to be informed, but I will take it up to my principals, your concerns, and also the inputs for us to maybe get oral for most of the training that we are offering, especially to those people who are illiterate. Thank you, Chairperson.
No, thank you very much. And we really appreciate that you did come. I think it was more of before we called you, trying to understand and then to learn from the case study of Wolvedance. And that was one of the headache of note to date in Grootbrak Rivier. It's been my nightmare, but I think this year we are eventually it will be sorted, but still is a case study that we have to learn. I think we're still going to call you to come and engage, to have an understanding, because it taps also into the housing protection consumer bill to look at what are the loopholes when coming to where there is structural defects to the houses, that from the inception phase of the housing project, that there are things that were not looked at, or they were looked at, but Mother Nature played part into that. So it's one of the things that we have to engage, to have an understanding, where do you come in and how do I hold the department self accountable if they are the ones that missed monitoring when coming to projects when they get to be implemented. But we appreciate, I really, really, really mean it when I say we appreciate that you are here, and we are in this relationship together. We'll continue to engage to make sure that we work for the communities of Western Cape, if not for the country at all. Kayla Murray, member, can you thank on behalf of the committee, the last word?
Chair, I'm very happy to do a word of thanks. Again, thank you very much for the detailed presentations, for your time here today, and for indulging our questions. I think, as always, we try to ask tough questions, but because we're working in the spirit of collegiality and in cooperative governance. So really, at the end of the day, what we're working towards is the betterment of the lives of each and every single resident in this province. So with that, through you, Chair, thank you very much, and please have a lovely weekend.
Okay, thank you very much, HOD and the officials. You can go and fry, but before you go and fry, there is in the members' lunch, there is the snacks, and there's no fruitless expenditure in my committee. You're going to have snacks before you go, and I'll be watching. I ask the police to look at anyone who doesn't go through the passage before you go down. And I'll send the bill to you if you didn't have that snack. So have a fantastic weekend. Thank you very much. Members, resolutions? Don't start with me. We will sit until +1. I'll read you one that you do. Okay. You see also NHBRC. I'm going to watch you on the camera. You're going to have the snacks because I prepared beautiful snacks for you for being with me. So I'll make sure the police don't open for you if you don't go through that those snacks. Thank you. So you're going to go straight and then turn left, straight the passage until the end. That's where your coffee is for energy with the traffic on the road. Thank you. To miss your handwriting, your grade 1 teacher, Go on.
Okay, members. So the recommendation that I have done is that the NHBRC look into oral test for skilled artisans that are not able to draft the test themselves. That's the only resolution I have.
No. For them to look into implementing the oral tests for those that cannot write, then they are not excluded for certification that they can do the oral tests, irrespective of what skill, as long as there's skill qualification or certification that they are doing, and not specific to your plumbing or build lay. It has to be where there is certification that is going to happen. If there is an option of the test, they must include oral so that they can be able to do that. And I didn't ask the most important question of the offices where the construction companies can have access close by, because of we don't have functional transport services in Western Cape. So it's one thing that we have to.
Where the training officers are.
Yeah, they have to send us. They didn't write it where the offices within Western Cape to distribute. Okay, members, thank you very much. Go and fry and make me a proud chairperson, and including you. You're going to have the snacks and then you go home, because I don't have any wasteful expenditure attached to my name. That being said, the meeting is adjourned. I appreciate you.
Enjoy your food.
Thank you very much, Member de Villiers. I think now after you are done with commentating for the World Cup, just embrace us with your presence. Meeting adjourned. There's the members, I'm not going to say this on record. They will send you the message in our group so that it's not here.